Good morning, everyone. Appreciate your coming out this morning. We have a really exciting announcement this morning about the future of the Prince George's County school system. I am truly honored this morning to announce that Dr. Alvin Thornton has accepted our invitation to act as chair of the Prince George's County Education Board. And we are really honored to have Dr. Thornton. I have to tell you at the outset that as I began to discuss this, there were several people who called me and said, wow, how did you make this happen? We thought that Dr. Thornton, after all the work that he has done, would at this point refuse and go off and enjoy himself, but his passion for children would not allow him not to accept this invitation. And so we're really honored. As you know, Dr. Thornton will bring with him a wealth of not only institutional knowledge, he has an extensive background in both education and very important for us, also has a background in education finance. Dr. Thornton, as you may recall, was appointed by Governor Paris Glendening as chairman of the state's Commission on Education, Finance, Equity, and Excellence in 1999. And Dr. Thornton was given the task at that time of creating a state school aid formula to ensure the schools and school systems, and this is important to us statewide, would have the necessary resources to provide every child with an equal education. That formula he created is known now, it's legendary, and is known as the Thornton Commission. So if you can imagine how honored we are today to have been able to appoint to act as chair of our board, school board, the person who created the Thornton Commission with his extensive knowledge of education funding at the state level. He has extensive knowledge of our school system. And so this is really a wonderful relationship that we're developing. We're just so thrilled. As we head to January, head to Annapolis in January, we believe that it is going to be critical for us to have someone with Dr. Thornton's background to assist us as we navigate the new Kerwin Commission formulas. This formula, we, of course, will affect our students and will affect the funding that we bring back for our school system. And we believe that we're really confident that with Dr. Thornton, we will be able to ensure what really is our chief priority, and that is making sure that our schools are fully funded. You may know that Prince George's County has a number of challenges. And one of the challenges that we have is that we educate the largest number of disabled students in the state of Maryland. We also educate the largest number of students in the state who speak English as a second language, and also educate 62% of our students receive free and reduced lunch. So we educate a large number of students who have great needs, and the Kerwin Commission dollars are going to be critical to how we move forward. We have, in addition to Dr. Thornton with us today, we have, as you know, a very talented Board of Education. It includes individuals like Ed Burrows, who is with us today. We're very pleased to have our board member, and we are excited to know that he's going to be working with Dr. Thornton. I've had an opportunity to meet with Ed and to learn that we share a passion for children, and that Ed also shares a passion for providing quality special education programs for our students. And so we look forward to working with him in this regard, and are excited about what we know is going to be a really wonderful collaboration of ideas, and we're confident about the future because he is there. We are also pleased to have Paul Montero, another lucky pick for us, who accepted my call and agreed to accept an appointment to the Board of Education. And what a thrill this was for us as well. I came to know Paul Montero over the last several months during our campaign, where I came to understand his passion for education. That education has served him exceedingly well, has caused him to have the credentials to act as an adjunct professor, to travel with our former President Barack Obama and to work in his administration, to work currently as Chief of Staff at Howard University. And above all, we are proud that Paul Montero is a product of the Prince George's County school system, that he understands that system. And when you hear from him, he speaks very passionately about his belief that every child in Prince George's County deserves the same level of education that he received, although he is honest about the fact that there were some challenges then, and his great concern is that some of those challenges remain. Well, you know what, we're pleased that he didn't just talk about it, but Paul Montero has agreed to step up and assist us in talking through and working through those challenges and looking at best practices around the country to find a way to build our school system. I'm also honored to have with me Dr. Monica Golson, who is the CEO of our school system, and I have to say has done a phenomenal job in beginning our school year. I have heard about her from every corner of our county, from citizens to those in the faith community, from teachers and principals, from students, and I think most notably what I would say about Dr. Golson, and I think a true tribute to the kind of leadership that she has brought to our school system, and I don't think I've ever heard of this before, but I actually heard from a student who said, I can tell that there's new leadership at the top. I can feel it in my school. I can tell how people treat me, that apparently there is something that has changed in our school system. And that is most important to me. I know that it's important to everyone assembled here. What we are concerned about is returning the focus of education to where it belongs. The people we want to feel the change are first students. They are our first concern. Students, their teachers, and their parents. And so to hear that a student said, I can tell her leadership has brought a change about is what we are looking for. It is why we are all here. And lastly, I'll say that really announcing, this is one of the first announcements that we're making in our administration, and it's not by accident. It is because we all believe that in this country, education is the great equalizer, and so we start here for all of our students. This is the most profound obligation of government, is to educate all of our children, and we are committed to it. We are doing it together, and that's the reason that this announcement is so important to us. And so, without further ado, I will introduce to you Dr. Alvin Thornton, who will come and make comments and will answer questions. Thank you.
Let me first of all express my appreciation to our county executive for asking me to take on this role, and I'm eager to do so, to join our CEO and my fellow board members. To work collaboratively on behalf of our babies. I call them our babies. I've been calling them that for 40 years in Prince George's County because it expresses the love that I have for them. I have 4 grandchildren and 3 boys and 1 girl, and I have 2 daughters. One of them, they call me Pawpaw, at least the grandchildren do. One of them, little Miles, I call him, right? He attends one of our public schools. And I was talking to the family, as I said to our county executive, I have to get the family's approval. And I was talking to the family on Sunday about re-engaging at this level and at point in my life. And little Miles, he said, Papa, we need you to help. He's a very talented little fellow, right? And that was it. That was it, that was it. My daughters are graduates of our public school system, and they are such accomplished women now. Graduates of the Central High School. One is an accomplished lawyer, and the other is an accomplished engineer. My wife, Annette, is a 33-year teacher. One of the best teachers that has ever been produced. And I'm a product of public schools. I was talking to my teacher. Her name is Miss Chapman, Countess John Chapman. She's 100 years old. And I love her to death because she took me as a little country boy in Alabama and loved me. And she didn't test me first, she loved me first. And these things have guided my approach to public service. I was a professor at Howard for 40 years. And one of the responsibilities I had was to provide public service. That's what I was evaluated on by my boss, the president. I've always taken that seriously, which is one of the reasons that motivated me in the 70s to engage this process and it helped to address the issues that we faced. I'm now very pleased to engage it again, largely as our county executive said, at the level of making sure that all of our children have adequate and equitable access to resources that they need, and that we have a governance umbrella over our children that is collaborative and shared and respectful. And if we combine those two things, adequate and equitable funding for our children with an accountability structure, an umbrella of consensus at all levels, federal, state, and local, we'll be able to achieve all the things that our county executive wants us to achieve and our leaders. And I'm just looking forward to working with the younger generation, sharing experiences from different points in life, working with our school leader to make sure that we have the very best school system in our nation. And I look forward to doing that and looking forward to making Prince George's County even greater when it comes to public education. Thank you again.
Next here, please, from Dr. Monica Golson.
Good morning. Today is monumental. It's monumental because we have the opportunity to have a 3-term chair, former chair of the Prince George's County Board of Education, rejoin our ranks. And it's an opportunity for us to begin to continue the process that we've been doing of instilling trust back into our community. I want to thank County Executive Angela Alsobrooks for this appointment because it shows her commitment to making education a priority. It takes all of us. And today, it goes to show that we have the past, the present, and the future. And so I appreciate Dr. Thornton's commitment to our children, to our teachers, to our support staff, and to our administration. He brings to the table a level of expertise and knowledge as it relates to the governance of the school system and how the operation of our administration works. But most importantly, he comes to the table with a knowledge about funding, equity, and excellence for all children. And that's what we want for every child. We have 134,000 children. They all have a dream. And today, this appointment helps to let our community and our children know their dreams will become a reality. Thank you.
May I introduce to you Mr. Paul Montero, school board member, who was sworn in this week on Monday.
Thank you so much. I need to thank our county executive for having the trust and confidence in me to allow me to serve. So thank you for appointing me. I so look forward to serving with Dr. Goldson and Mr. Burrows and our new chair. In the fall of 1985, I was one of those students that started in public school in Adelphi Elementary, kindergarten class with Ms. Bailiff. I was one of those free and reduced lunch kids that went through this system, Adelphi Elementary, Buck Lodge Middle, and High Point High School. This system has been good to me, and I had some wonderful teachers. And I'm excited to be a part of the solution to some of the challenges that have consistently been coming up in the system over the years. But I have a debt of gratitude that I owe to this system. And so I'm just honored to serve with not just a local, but a national legend. Dr. Thornton is someone who is known nationally, having worked at the Obama White House and knowing that his name is representative of credibility. Today in America, a Harvard sociologist has popularized this saying called the scissors gap. The economic circumstances of a child's birth will likely be the economic circumstances of their death. If you're born into poverty, you'll likely die in poverty. And if you're born into wealth, you'll probably die in wealth. Public education is one of the few ways to break that cycle of intergenerational poverty. And with this appointment, someone who's given his life, 40 years of service to Howard University, but a lifetime of service to dealing with educational equity issues. I'm just excited to serve with Dr. Thornton and learn from him. So thank you very much for giving me the chance to serve. I'm honored to work with you. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce Mr. Ed Burrows, school board member.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm excited to be here today for this wonderful announcement of Alvin Thornton as board chair. Over the last few months, I have called Ms. Alsobrooks so many times. I've stopped her every chance I got, and I do apologize. But we talked about what attributes we would want in a board chair. We talked about having a board chair who truly would have the board laser focus on boosting student achievement. We talked about having a board chair that understands state funding and who has a track record of going to Annapolis and bringing home additional resources to our school system. We talked about having someone with undeniable credibility that we all know and trust that will do the best thing for kids no matter what. And I'm here today to proudly say that we had that person in Dr. Alvin Thornton. On behalf of the Board of Education, I want you to know, sir, that we support you 100%. We consider you our coach, our captain, and we're ready to roll up our sleeves to get to work. Dr. Thornton will bring the much-needed urgency and focus that we haven't had for quite some time. Under his leadership, we will focus on real issues, and I just want to highlight a few. The reality is that our lowest performing schools today were our lowest performing schools 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. If we're going to break that cycle, we must do things differently. We must innovate. We must hold people accountable to move the needle for our lowest performing schools. And under his leadership, I know we will do that. Special education is something that our board will focus on, and it's something that Ms. Alsobrooks cares very deeply about, as she mentioned earlier. We believe that we could have a special education department that truly supports our students more than any other county in the state. And I know Ms. Alsobrooks is very concerned about and will focus on equipping our special education parents with the tools and resources that they need in order to navigate our very complex system. And I look forward to working with you on that. We also know that our employees can go to neighboring jurisdictions and make $10,000 to $15,000 more. And I trust Dr. Thornton to go to Annapolis and argue in the name of equity to bring back resources so that we can pay our employees what they deserve. I've had the honor of serving on the board and literally growing up on the board for over a decade. And I can honestly say that I am more hopeful now than ever before. We've been through some tough times. I know that, and you know that. I want to thank every custodian, bus driver, teacher, principal, central office staffer who chose to endure and stay with our system because you love our system and you love our students. I want the public to know that the county executive, the Board of Education, and our superintendent are united and in sync and will work every single day to improve our school system. We understand that education is the civil rights issue of our time, and just as our ancestors did for us, we are prepared to fulfill our obligation to the next generation and generations to come. Or as Ms. Alsobrooks would say, we are prepared to fulfill our promise. So I want to congratulate you, Dr. Thornton. I do want to give a special shout out to your wife of 47 years who's allowing you to do this. But we look forward to working with you.
So if there are any questions, we would love to entertain those questions at this point.
Dr. Thornton, you mentioned about the young generation. Yes, I heard you talk about baby. What do you see differently? Why you decided to come back at Borough Ontario?
Well, I've never really left. I guess I should clarify that. I left the board as chair in 1998 because I understood that a major challenge we faced was equitable funding insured by the state, notwithstanding the zip code or county in which the children live. So I went to chair the commission, and I did that. And I've remained an active advocate for equitable funding throughout, ever since I left the Board of Education. So I've remained engaged. I do know that at this level now, we do need camaraderie, collaborative shared governance at the board level. I think my experience, both as chairing the board 3 terms, chairing many major commissions at the university, gives me, I should do it. I should share that experience, that understanding, relationships. I know most of the people, both in federal government, state government, senators, delegates, and so I have an obligation to share that. I shouldn't be out just playing golf and running around when our community needs people like me, not just me. Our community needs all of us, people like me, who have the knowledge, experience, the resources. We should make that available to our children, and I will do that.
Quick follow-up. With the current commission, that's looking to possibly be approved. Are you going to be able to go to any of the meetings that they have? I think it's 3 months now. So make sure you speak on behalf of the county.
I first met Dr. Kerwin. This is why it's important for people like myself to be involved. I first met Dr. Kerwin in 1984. He was chancellor at the University of Maryland at the time. And I was a professor at Howard and NAACP activist, and we were trying to work through the issues of the day. The federal judge at that time, Judge Kaufman, appointed him to chair a group called Council of 100 to bring the people of Prince George's County together. And he appointed me, the judge appointed me to chair a monitoring subgroup of that. And we would meet monthly at Eleanor Roosevelt High School, the inner and outer Beltway families, under his and my leadership. We have met ever since the commission was formed frequently for breakfast to share, for him to benefit from his Thornton experience, and for me to learn his aspirational goals. And we've remained connected. I am really engaged. In fact, I'm going to Baltimore tonight to engage in a community discussion about the Curran Commission. I've said to Dr. Curran that what we want him to do is to build upon the revolutionary vision of Thornton. If you remember what Thornton did, I call it bridge to excellence. It's a little awkward calling it Thornton. It was officially bridge to excellence. In the history of this nation, to avoid artificial litigation and divisiveness, the state agreed to form a commission to address issues of inequity and adequacy. And at least in 2002, when it was passed, the state came up with a revolutionary formula that drives resources to children based upon economic need and disability and limited youth efficiency and those issues, and increased the foundation amount. That was revolutionary. We were litigated, keep in mind, for 25 years, and that's what we did. Now, I anticipate and fully expect the Curran Commission to build upon that, not to radically change it, but to build upon that and add some new vision to it, but that must be the foundation.
Doctor, what is your, it's a meeting tonight, you mentioned in Baltimore, but what is your first order of business?
To learn from my colleagues and the CEO as to what they have experienced, what they need me to do to help the board organize itself into a structure that can best respond to the needs of our county executive and CEO. That's my first thing. So as soon as I'm officially on board, I'm going to meet with my colleagues, meet with board staff, as we'll have to work as a team. And by next week, we're going to be fully up and running and serving our kids. So that's my first responsibility.